Welcome to Brothers Black Studio, everyone. I'm Mal Black. Today we're going to change some drum heads. The best thing that you can do for your drum kit is to change the heads on it, especially if it's a beginner kit or a lower end kit. If you put high-end drum heads on it, then it's going to sound a lot better. So we're going to talk about the Remo heads, but every brand will have their own variations of these types of heads, all right? You got single ply heads, you got double ply heads, and they can come in coated or clear. That's about it. What's this? Ambassador clear, Ambassador coated. So this is the same head. The only difference is this head has a coating on it. This is an Ambassador clear, this is an Ambassador coated. Very common setup for over-under on toms. This is what I like to use on toms in the studio. It's what tons of studio drummers use for their head setup, okay? That's an Ambassador coated over an Ambassador clear. Bam, both single ply heads. On the road you might see, or on a thicker set of drums or something like that, you got your double ply heads. These are the same head. This is an Emperor, this is a 2-ply head, this is a clear Emperor, this is a coated Emperor. Another really common setup is a coated Emperor over a clear Ambassador, right? A lot of times you'll see a single ply head on the bottom of the toms because they're going to resonate a little more and give you a little more punch and volume. Maybe not volume. A lot of heavy hitters will use the coated Emperors or the Emperors because they'll go right through Ambassadors. Some guys hit really hard and they just dent the heck out of their heads, and those guys are going to use coated Emperors, right? Especially if they're on the road and beating the heck out of their heads and don't want to change them every night. Coated heads sound warmer when you put them on a drum. They warm the sound up a little bit. Coating is made so that your brush makes this sound on it. That's what the coating's for. And then drummers just noticed over time that the coating actually made the drum sound warmer, so then it became a favorite head. A couple other types of heads. This is a reverse dot head. I think it's a coated Ambassador with a plastic dot underneath, okay? It's called a reverse dot. Super common for a snare head. Coated Ambassadors are really common snare heads as well. One more, fiber skin head. This is made to mimic the old calfskin heads. It looks more like it than it sounds like it, but they're super cool, right? They look cool. The last head we're going to talk about is a pinstripe. A pinstripe is a 2-ply head with a layer of oil in between. Steve Gadd loves these in the studio. They give kind of a thuddy sound, so they'll take away some of the overtones, give it a little more attack, all right? Today we're going to take the coated Ambassadors off of my Dunnett toms, and we're going to put pinstripes on them. Let's get to it. All right, how to change a drum head. Here we go. First things first, take off your old drum head. Get yourself a drum key. You should have drum keys everywhere. Otherwise, how do you do your kit? You might wonder, Al, why are you on the floor? Well, that's because there's lots of moving parts to these drums, and I tend to drop things. We're going to undo all our lugs. If I'm doing a quick change, I won't take the lugs right out of the hoop. But today, we're going to pull the hoop right off and clean everything up and make sure it's in good shape. I got to put these lugs somewhere. I'll put them in that old fiber skin head. This fiber skin head came on that 10-inch snare over there. It was kind of a cool thing to have on it, but I pulled it off and put a Remo Ambassador on there just to give us a little more punch for recording. Okay, something to put your lugs in. The rim comes off. You want to have a clean rag and a dirty rag, eh? So take your clean rag, clean off your rim, take off the old head, okay? There it is. That's the old head. Bye-bye. Okay, so when you got your head off, it's a good idea to just make sure the inside of the drum is clean. You want to go around and make sure that all these little nuts and lugs and stuff are not loose, right? Give it a shake test, make sure there's nothing rattling. It's a good time to make sure that your drum's in good shape. Grab your new head, put it on where you want it. Get your rim. Make sure it's not out of shape. Make sure it's straight. And then you bring your lugs back. These lugs are pretty clean. Sometimes if my lugs are really dirty, I'll clean them up. I'll put a little oil or I'll put a little grease on them. They're pretty clean. I'm going to take all the grease off. All right, we'll just go back with these. So I'm just putting them in loose right now. I don't want to pull the rim one way or the other. let's get this camera in close so you can see what's going on. So this is where most people like to go finger tight. I don't like to do that. I like to spin the lugs down till they're just touching the metal, but not applying pressure. So that rim is not going to move down at all, okay? See, if I turn it too far, see that rim starts to move. I'm not trying to do that. I want them all just barely touching. So we've cleaned our drum, we got our head back on, we got our rim back on, we got all our lugs back in, okay? Now we got all our lugs barely touching, putting no downward pressure, just barely touching. But I do want a square face, so what I will do is go around the lugs. So now every single lug is squared up to the rim. Okay, so now I put a little pressure in the center and I start going around the drum, half a turn at a time. Half a turn, go across, half a turn. I like to use a star pattern as well. Half a turn, and I count. 4, 5, 6. This is a 6 lug drum, so you just keep going around. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so right now we've got a full turn on each lug. All right, let's go again. Another half turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now you're starting to hear the glue crack on the head. That's okay, that's good. You want that. It's gonna break up the glue around the edge there, okay? We're gonna go again, another half turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we got 2 full turns on each lug, right? You can hear the glue still cracking. I still got pressure in the middle. We're gonna go again. Maybe a quarter turn this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm doing is I'm over tightening, okay? I'm taking this is not where I would tune it to. I'm seating the head, okay? So what I do is I take it up to about 2.5, 3 turns, 3 full turns, and I leave it overnight. So that's what we're doing right now. So another quarter turn on each lug. 3, 4, 5, 6. You can take your hand off now. And then you do want to just make sure that it's in tune with itself. A lot of times I'll just speed this process up by using a tune bot, and then I can just see where it sounds weird. It just tells me the tension at each lug, right? So this one is low. I mean, you can hear that it's low, right? So the thing is, because we squared up the faces, and any lug that we have here is only going to be probably a quarter turn off max, right? So you just go around and find the ones that are out and put a quarter turn on. But it's pretty close. I'm not messing with that, okay? So I'm going to leave that overnight. Let's go to the next drum. So I was going to put Ambassador Coateds back on because I have some recording projects coming up, and those are great heads for tracking. But I don't have any. So I'm going to throw pinstripes on this kit. I've had pinstripes on this kit before, and it sounds awesome. It's just kind of fun. It's fun to try different heads. Different heads can really change the character of your kit. So it's like a new kit in some ways. Okay, clean off the rim. Make sure your drum's clean. Make sure all these little nuts and stuff are tight. All right, rim goes back on. Make sure it wants to sit right. Yeah, line everything up. Throw your lugs back in. So even though I'm only using 3 toms in my setup right now, I do change the head on all 4 toms in this kit. That way, if I do want to swap out one drum for another drum, it's got the right head on it and it's ready to go. Just barely touching, okay? And then I'll go around and make sure that the faces are all square. Little downward pressure. Put the head in the right spot, and here we go around again, okay? Half a turn. 1, 2. You see how I'm squaring that drum key up every time, right? So that's how I know it's a half turn, right? See, it's square, half turn. 1, 2, 3, this is getting pretty tight. 4, 5, 6, okay? That's really tight. See, it's in tune with itself, right? This is probably 2.5 turns on here, I think, right? Did you count? It might be 3 full turns, but it's not more than that. But now it's really tight, and that bearing edge is going to dig into the Mylar overnight and kind of seat itself, okay? And then tomorrow, I'm going to come back and detune everything and tune it up, and it's all nice and seated. Okay, that's 2. Next one, 13-inch tom. It's always a good idea to put some new heads on your drums, clean them up, make sure everything's tight on them, so then when you go to record or when you're out tracking or you're at a club, they're not making any funny sounds. You know if there's no lug missing because you would have seen that it fell off, right? Just kind of want to know your drums. You want to know where they're at. Bring on the floor tom. All right, here we go. We're going to do the 16-inch tom. Lugs come out. So like this one is a little high, right? You can hear it. Maybe we'll bring it down. So I brought it low and then back up to pitch, okay? So I brought this one down 1/4 turn. All right, there you go. I do like to leave these sitting overnight now, and then I'll come back tomorrow and I'll tune them down and then I'll tune them up to pitch, okay? It's magic. You leave them overnight, awesome things happen. All right, thanks everybody. That's how you change a drum head. We'll see you next time.